Hello, 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 and welcome to Courageously Kind. I'm Maddie.
And I'm Liz. We're twin sisters and best friends.
Together, we share stories of especially kind humans doing especially kind things, in hopes that these conversations motivate and inspire you to be kinder to yourself and others. When we're not speaking with an incredible guest, we'll speak directly from our hearts about what it means to us to be courageously kind. Hello, 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 and welcome back to Courageously Kind. Today, we are going to be exploring the world of social media influencers.
In the past few years, the term influencer has become a phenomenon on all social media platforms.
For sure. According to a recent study, 57% of Gen Zers said they would like to become an influencer if given the chance.
What started out as a way to share photos between family and friends is now turning into a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Yeah, so today we're going to be exploring whether or not we think social media influencers have a positive or a negative impact on our society. Big question.
Yeah.
Think back to your first sort of encounter with influencers. I think influencers kind of came from reality TV sort of thing. We could talk all day about the reality TV show to social media influencer pipeline. But what was the sort of first reality show or influencer-esque thing that you experienced?
I think it was definitely on cable TV.
Yeah.
And I think back to the Duggars, TLC shows, Little People, Big Worlds, setting kind of that abnormal family dynamic.
Yeah, interesting.
And I think it was really single digits young.
Yeah.
Really young.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think we've been exposed to this kind of reality, not really real persona for so long now.
Yeah. I wonder when reality TV shows really first started. I'm not sure the history behind that. That would be something interesting, I guess, to look into for sure. Yeah.
I really think that this is where social media influencers kind of came from.
Yeah, I agree.
But really, when we're talking about influencers, how do you define that term?
Yeah, this I think is kind of a complicated question because I think it's always changing all the time. But a social media influencer to me in my head is someone who sort of has a platform online. And the term influencer, I think, sort of suggests, I guess, that they maybe do brand deals, that they sort of do endorsements. So they sort of are trying to influence the people that they follow, whether it is to buy a product and they make a commission or, they're trying to influence, I think a lot about it in business terms. But I think it's really just anyone with a platform that is trying to make an impact, whether that be in terms of business or not. Kind of hard to define, to be honest.
It is. It's such a vague, broad term, and it's used in so many different ways now, too.
Right, for sure. I guess the million-dollar question is, do you see influencing as a legitimate career, right? There are people out there who maybe started as bloggers and now have Instagram pages, or people that just, jump right into social media. They're making this a career.
Yeah.
They're making their livelihood and they're feeding their families because of the brand deals that they do on social media. Do you think that influencing is a legitimate career?
Well, I am going to say yes.
Okay.
I think of an influencer as a freelance salesperson. If that makes sense, it's someone that's selling products to their audience and not really connected maybe with one company. So I do think it is legitimate.
Yeah.
That being said, is it the most respectable? I think those are two different questions.
Interesting, yeah.
I think consumerism has gotten so out of hand.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of it too. But I think influencers are a big driving factor in consumerism.
I mean, look at the Stanley Cup, right? People on Instagram or TikTok that have hundreds of thousands of followers post all the time about their Stanley Cups, and now it's this big phenomenon and everybody has to have it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I guess that brings us to our next question of, do we think influencers have a positive or negative impact on us viewers?
So I think, again, this is another complicated question. I think it comes down to what sort of things they post, what their intentions are, and sort of how they're presenting themselves and how they treat other people online. I don't think that influencers are necessarily all negative, right? I don't think that they're all, super villains that
Terrible
want us to,
people.
that want us to spend all our money or spend it on things that are unethical or that sort of thing. I really think when you build a platform that big, it's really all about what you do with it, right? I think influencers have the power to, raise a lot of money for a charity or draw attention and awareness to a specific issue. So I don't think it's all negative, but I agree with your point on consumerism and the reservations you have about that, for sure.
I think I agree. It's kind of like social media.
Yeah.
It's all based on how you use it and your intentions behind why you're using it.
Right. Yeah. Would you want to be an influencer? Is that something that you aspire to be?
I cringe at the term a little bit.
Really?
Yeah. Just because as much as I do think it could be a legitimate career.
Right.
I question how respectable it is, and I question the motives behind. Sometimes you see this person selling this product, and you're like, do you really use that product? Do you really like that product?
But by your own definition, if they're just a freelance salesperson,
True.
Doesn't mean that they necessarily personally endure it. But I guess if they're presenting it on their own personal Instagram page, that's a different story, right?
Yeah.
It's not just like you're clocking in for a job and you're selling a product, whether or not you actually use the product. It's sort of like, I don't know, I think posting it on your personal sites makes it a little bit more personal. And again, like if you don't agree with the company's ethics or you don't even support the product itself, like it sort of feels dishonest a little.
A little bit. So I personally would like to shy away from being called an influencer.
Yeah.
I don't love that.
Yeah, interesting. I think something about influencers that sort of like sparks in my head is the fact that a lot of people that have really big platforms online post all the time, right? It seems like there's very little like boundaries about what people post and what they don't post. We were just talking about this the other day. There are TikTok live streams of people just sleeping.
That's weird.
They literally live stream their entire lives.
That's crazy.
And it just starts, I don't know, that feels invasive to me.
I wonder too, like the mental health impacts that this will have. Social media hasn't been around for more than 20, less than 2 decades.
Yeah.
Like we haven't really learned the long-term effects of these apps and what they're doing to our brains.
Yeah.
I don't think it's good though.
Yeah.
Feeling yourself sleep for the world.
It feels invasive. Yeah.
It definitely feels invasive, and I think too that ties up in privacy concerns and boundaries on social media.
Yeah.
How much of your life do you feel comfortable sharing, and are you worried about some privacy boundaries being crossed?
Definitely. I believe my Instagram is private, and my Facebook, I think Facebook is as well. I do have concerns about sharing certain parts of my life, like important information like my address and of course my banking information and that sort of thing. Like I really do get nervous about like anything that has to do with that online. And I think it's weird because we have this podcast and we are trying to build relationships with our listeners for sure, but I think it's important to understand that like online relationships and real person relationships are different things. So, the podcast Instagram is public, but our personal accounts are private. And I think that's just a little way that we're sort of taking ownership of our social media and trying to keep some things of our life private. Yeah. Privacy is huge, I think.
Yeah.
How do you feel about privacy on social media? What are your thoughts on it?
I think, I try not to get too, wrapped up in it. I think it can get very scary very quickly. But like you were saying, I love having my own personal social media is private. And being able to filter who sees, posts like where I've been, where I'm going. Like, just try to be very vigilant of when you're posting something online. This sounds like a middle school, like
a PSA,
safety. But really, when you're posting something online, it's no longer yours. And you really no longer own it anymore.
Right.
So just being aware and mindful, I think goes a long way.
Yeah, for sure. This brings us to another topic that we sort of touched on when you talked about like family shows and that sort of thing, shows that highlight families. There's this phenomenon on like YouTube and Instagram right now of family vloggers, right? Parents that sort of vlog their whole lives, including the lives of their children. And this can be really controversial. There have been several counts of like child abuse that has been exposed because of family vloggers. What do we think about family vlogging? Is it unethical? Is it unethical to show your kid's face on the internet? What do we think about that?
I think vlogging, and especially vlogging every minute of your life, becomes unethical.
Yeah.
I think you get into consent issues with children. Children online is just a whole other can of worms. Like, I think parents can never be too cautious when it comes to internet safety for their kids. That being said, I do think that it is the parent's decision how much, in terms of like photos or covering their face, how much they want to show online. I've seen it done both ways of, parents that never show their kids' face until they're old enough to consent for themselves. And I've seen parents that their social medias are private, they know who's following them, and they post pictures of their kids.
Yeah.
I don't think either way is right or wrong. I think it's a very personal decision. That being said, I think filming every part of their life, especially embarrassing parts, right?
Yeah.
The kids having a meltdown, they are not going to want that on the internet 20 years later.
Forever. Yeah.
And I think that really, again, goes back to intention of like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Are you using your kid to get views and then ultimately to get money?
Yeah.
Dicky.
Yeah, it is.
Do you think, because vlogging kind of came from blogging, right? So do you think blogging is any better?
I think it depends, like you were saying, but I think there's a difference between writing about your family and filming your family, right? I think, again, like, no kid wants an embarrassing story immortalized on the internet forever, but I think there is a difference between, like, writing up a story about your family or a family trip or that sort of thing, and, like, shoving a camera in their face 24/7, for sure.
Definitely.
Blogging feels like a little bit more...
Yeah, a little less invasive.
Ethical, a little less invasive, for
Definitely.
sure. Yeah.
Definitely. Coming back to boundaries to kind of sum up influencing and boundaries and working on social media.
Yeah.
Kind of like work-life boundaries.
Yeah.
Do you feel that you can be on social media and uphold certain boundaries that you want to set?
Definitely, but I think it takes a level of mindfulness. And I think that's the point we really want to drive home here, is being mindful about what you share on social media and what you consume too, right? If you see a post from somebody that has hundreds of thousands of followers and they're posting about this product, maybe think twice about, their intentions and their authenticity. Also, just being mindful of what you choose to share on social media too. I think it can be tempting when you see these people sharing every single aspect of their lives on the internet all the time to want to do the same thing. But again, the internet is forever. Maybe you don't want that embarrassing story about, whatever on your Facebook for all of eternity. So just, I think mindfulness about what you're consuming and what you're posting as well goes a long way.
Definitely. Sometimes topics like this can get a little bit heavy concerning boundaries and privacy.
Yeah.
So if any of the things we talked about raise some negative or anxiety emotions, don't panic. Like Maddie was saying, it's all about mindfulness.
Absolutely.
It's all about making sure that you're just aware of your actions online and the consequences that they may have. So don't panic. Don't throw away your phone. Unless you want to, then go for it.
Yeah.
But it's okay. It's okay if you share things on social media. It's okay if you're very open.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Bottom line, don't panic.
Yeah. It's all about what you make it. Yeah. For sure. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you back here real soon. Bye.
Bye. We'd like to give a huge thank you to Anna Landscape Contracting for their support of Courageously Kind.
Anna is a family-owned landscape contracting company in Berks County that has served Pennsylvania for over 35 years.
If you're ready to get your landscaping project started, visit AnnaWaltzLandscape.com or call 610-916-7070.
Anna Waltz Landscape Contracting, beautifying Pennsylvania 1 yard at a time.
Thank you so much for listening. If you like this episode, feel free to share it with your friends, your family, or anyone you think might like it too.
And if you want to support the show, leave us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It really does help. Or check out our merch store at courageouslykind.org. Take good care, and we'll see you back here real soon.